and I love him. Oh, now I'll cry. I love him more now than I ever did before. I see him taking care of his mother, taking care of me, you know, and a lot of men wouldn't do that, especially with a mother that didn't take care of them. So I got a good one.
There is a light shining for you, guiding your way, helping you through shadows and gloom.
Oops, let's see if I can get you guys a little bit further away from me. Okay, now let's start. Hi guys, and welcome to Tuesday. Just beginning our week, and it looks like it's gonna be a doggone good week. Today is Monday as I am filming this, and it has been just a beautiful, beautiful day. Just a light breeze flowing, the sunshine is out. It's not where it's like you're hot and sweaty out in the sun. You're just like, ah, it's perfect. So I think I have that disease called SAD, you know, where it's the syndrome where you are sad when it's like, you get depressed when it's gloomy and yucky out, and then you're happy when the sunshine, you know, is out and stuff, a good day. I think I have that a little bit, but then I always go back and forth. I love a rainy day too, where you can curl up and hear the rain fall. I think I'm just like an in-between girl. I just don't like the days that are just kind of gloomy out, where there's no rain, it's just cold and gray. Those really affect me. So I don't know, how about you guys? Drop me a comment down below and let me know if the weather affects you guys at all. So, all right. Now, this is just kind of a get to know me video. I was thinking about different topics that I could do, and I thought, I'm thinking, you guys know everything about me. I mean, it's like my whole world, my whole life, all my hardships, everything are out there on video. All you have to do is go watch them. So I'm like, what? You know, it's like, what are people gonna wanna know? You know what I mean? It's like, I could talk about cancer, which I do constantly and everything. But then I thought, you know what? I think I wanna do a get to know me video, something that you guys don't know about me and my family, and kind of just start there. So Tuesdays, I'm gonna try to just pull from the perspective of something you guys don't know and that I wanna share with you. So today, as I was thinking about, or this weekend, as I was thinking about what topic I wanted to share with y'all, I started thinking about the hardships that we have gone through. And I'm thinking, of course, you know about my son dying. You know about my struggle with cancer. So I'm thinking, you know, the hardships, and I'm thinking, okay, and I still just, you know, nothing really came up that was anything that I thought would be worthy of talking about, I guess. So then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna put the computer down and I'm gonna stop researching, and I'm just gonna take a break and I'm gonna watch a movie. Well, the movie that I watched was on BBC, and it was called Finding Elizabeth. And the story was it was from the perspective of a woman who was struggling in her mind. She had dementia, and she was struggling to hold on to reality. And her reality was getting mixed with something that happened in the past and that something that was happening right now. And it was just like all intertwined, and she was like trying desperately to hold on to what was real and what wasn't, and try to remember things. And so she was writing herself notes, and she had stickies everywhere. And it hit that movie just hit me so hard, because We took care of my husband's mother for 9 years with Alzheimer's. And it was the hardest thing I have ever had to do, except for bearing my son. I would say the 9 years that we took care of mom was harder than my cancer journey. And I'm not kidding. So anyway, I'm watching this movie and I'm bawling my head off. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this feels so, it's so real. Like this is exactly, they nailed this movie to a T. The frustrations of the daughter that was taking care of her, the missing brother that just popped in from time to time, the day-to-day struggles, just from the provider, the caregiver perspective, and the perspective of the person that was losing grasp of reality. So anyway, I finished the movie and I was talking to my husband and I said, this movie, oh my gosh, you won't want to watch it because it's just, it spelled out our lives exactly, except for our lives didn't end in a 1 hour movie. Our lives went on for 9 years this way. So after I was telling my husband about this, he goes, you know what? I think that should be your topic for Tuesday. I think you have your topic. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you think they'd want to know that? And he goes, that's a huge part of our lives for 9 years. And if you are sharing things about us, aside from cancer, you're trying to let people know your hardships. That was a huge part of our hardships during cancer. So anyway, so then I started thinking about it and I thought, okay, you know what? I think I will. I'll talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to try to get through it without tears. There are some funny parts to it. Yeah. So during my cancer diagnosis, I was diagnosed 13 years ago, stage 4 metastatic, triple negative. It had started spreading and it spread like crazy. 9 years ago, actually 10 years ago now, my husband's mother moved in with us. She could not live on her own anymore. My husband's father had passed away already, and we had been taking care of her, but she was in an apartment just like really close to us. But it became apparent that she couldn't stay alone anymore. She couldn't be trusted with just day-to-day things and stuff. So we moved her in, and when she first moved in, I was doing chemotherapy. And I was thinking that it might even be helpful having mom there because she wasn't gone, her mind wasn't gone. She was still driving, in fact. I know. And we were thinking she could actually be of help, maybe helping with the housekeeping or, something, just be of help with things while I went through chemotherapy and radiation and surgery. And we asked her if she could, maybe if we could make a schedule, and she could do the sweeping and maybe the dishes 1 time a week or something like that. And she blew up. She got angry, she got mad, and we were shocked. We were like, oh, wow. And at that time, we did not realize that her disease was as worse. It was as bad as it was. So we were like kind of mad at her because we were thinking gosh, she's living here for free, and all we want her to do is pitch in here and there. And, she's being a real grumpy monster. Anyway, because of that, we started noticing that her personality was changing. And she was getting more angry, more frustrated. She couldn't hear. She needed a hearing aid, but she was too prideful to get a hearing aid. This is long before she started losing it. Her hearing was bad, and she just kept saying, I have a cold. And we'd say, Mom, you've had a cold for 20 years. And it just became a kind of a joke, among us all. But, yeah, so her having dementia and me having cancer, I needed to be taken care of. And here I was taking care of someone who didn't want to be taken care of. She didn't want me to do anything for her, yet she needed it. So it was a constant battle for 9 years, progressively getting worse. It started out with just like I would notice that she hadn't eaten anything all day. And so I'd say, hey, eat dinner with us. She would never eat dinner with us. She would only eat with what she paid for. And I'm like, Mom, please just sit down and eat dinner with us. And she just wouldn't do it. And so then she'd go without eating all that day. And it was like struggles like that were just ongoing. So then she would finally eat with us, but she would leave $1 bill on the table. Just like silly things like that, it'd be like, oh my Lord. So then she started taking walks, and in the beginning, walks were fine. She knew where she was. She'd had her route, and then she'd come home. But as the disease progressed, she started getting lost. And I noticed that she'd leave. I'd always keep an eye on the time. She'd leave, and it'd be like, wow, that's a long walk, and she hasn't come home. Well, we put Find a Friend on our phone, and we'd all call around to each other. Do you know where Grandma is? And they're like, yeah, she's on the corner of this and that. We're like, okay, she's okay. She's getting close to home, So it was a family effort. The boys were amazing with her grandsons, and my daughter was actually living at home at that time. And so she took a lot of the brunt for Grandma. Grandma was not nice to her, and it was really hard for me to watch. Sometimes when she would get grumpy and stuff with my daughter, it was hard. But then as she got worse, she got nicer to Summer, and she got nicer to me, which is so sad because we were like thinking it would be the other way around, but it wasn't. So progressively she got worse that way, but it was always had to keep an eye to make sure she didn't get lost, had to make sure that she got fed. And then it got to the point where she couldn't drive anymore. She totaled her car. She ran a red light and she hit somebody. Thank God they weren't hurt. And so we had put into the DMV before to try to get her license taken away. The doctor put a thing in, we did, and they gave her license back, which blew my mind. I'm like, I was afraid either she'd drive somewhere and get lost and not know where she was at, or she would kill somebody because she was forgetting basic things, And yeah, it was a constant battle with something. And then as the years progressed, I got worse, and so did she. She started getting combative again. She would write us notes every single day, the same notes, just about how she hated us, how she wanted to get a bus and go to Arizona where her sister lived, her sister who had passed. She had another sister that was alive there, but she was forgetting who died, who didn't die, and she used to go to Arizona every year and drive, and we're like, you can't drive. So then they arranged for a bus, but then she got to the point there's no way she could ride a bus. She would get off at the wrong place. She would go home with somebody. I mean, it was just not safe. So then my husband would drive her out to Arizona. Well, he drove her all the way to Arizona, took time off work, which we couldn't afford, left me alone, sick and suffering. I was like, I needed him. And it's like we would not have been able to live with her if my husband hadn't done this. I mean, it would have been worse than him staying. So he drove her out to Arizona. She got there. She was supposed to stay a month with her sister and their family. And he got home and she called crying, I'm scared. Please come get me. And she just couldn't handle being away from home. She didn't know her surroundings. It was too traumatic for her. My husband said she sounded like a little child crying for their daddy to please come get him at a sleepover. It was heartbreaking. So my husband jumped in the car, went back, picked her up, drove her back, and of course then she started all over again, packing her bags. She's going to Arizona. And she would say the same things over and over and over and over. I remember one day, this is how we coped. We counted how many times she told us something. And I think it was over 115, 120 times in one day, one topic. And she would do it with each topics that she had. And every single one of her topics were about getting away from us and moving to Arizona. And then we'd say, Mom, remember we took you to Arizona and you wouldn't even stay one night. And she didn't remember that. She'd she'd get mad. So it was hard. Then when my daughter got married, we were going to go away on a vacation for 1 week after the wedding was over. And, it was our last kid at home, sending her off, but we had grandma. So we asked my husband's brother to please take his mom for just 1 week so we could get a break, because he literally did nothing to help out with his mom ever. Not one single time did he ever do anything. He didn't help financially. He didn't help physically. The only thing he did do is use her credit to get credit cards and got a loan for his kids' schooling. He's not, I don't know how two men came from one person so different, but he did. So we asked him, can you please, please, please take Mom for just 1 week? Give us all a break. And he couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So the kids decided they would do it. Since they had been taking Grandma, my son Ryan and his wife and kids would come weekly, take her to rodeos, take her to soccer games, take her anywhere that they thought she would enjoy being, with, and took her out to lunch at least twice a week. My other son Raymond and his wife did the exact same. They took her out to eat. They took her to Disneyland. They took her to Knott's Berry Farm, things that, she actually loved those places. She loved roller coasters. So they did all this stuff. They were constantly helping with Grandma, trying to give us a break. So they took Grandma for the week. And 2 days into our trip, My son called and said, you got to come home. Grandma is freaking out. She's trying to get a cab to get out of here, you know. Anyway, it was not a good deal. So we had to leave our vacation, our only vacation, and come home and take care of Grandma. So that's the way it was for 9 years, and it got worse. She started having accidents in her pants and then refusing to let me change her. She would sit in her mess and say, no, she didn't do it. It was Alzheimer's. I mean, it wasn't her, it was the disease, but it still was the same results, a battle. And so because I was a female in the situation, in my bald head, with nausea and everything, had to try getting her to change her clothes. And then her room started smelling because she wouldn't bathe. Towards the end before we got her into a living quarters of her own, I would have to get in the shower with her and bathe her and rinse her off, because that was the only way to get her to take a shower. And then she would get sores on her arm, and then because of not bathing, they would get infected. So it had to be done. There's no other way. And my husband couldn't do that. There's no way. And if we tried to hire anybody, she would not. She was mean. She was combative. There's no way she would allow anybody else to touch her. So I can honestly say it was 9 years of pure hell. My husband and I fought all the time because I was angry that I wasn't the priority. I didn't feel like I was the priority. I felt like I have stage 4 cancer. I'm the one that's sick. I'm the one that should be being taken care of. And here Grandma is, and everybody's rushing to her every need. Everybody's making sure she's happy. And I'm changing her dirty butt and bathing her and then getting notes daily saying she hates us. I mean, it was pretty intense. So we had our arguments. But then my husband, he would come back and he'd say, it's my mom. And I know, he goes, he didn't even like his mom. He had a very rough, his mom never raised him, his dad raised him. So it was really hard for him to take care of her because she never took care of him. So it was just very, very hard. But he knew that biblically, that's what we were to do. We were to take care of our parents, you know, and the elderly and the widows, and she was all of that. And the day that his dad died, he went into heart surgery. He had a heart attack, and he died very suddenly. He was going into surgery, and he told Ray, take care of your mother. And Ray promised. So my husband, he is an honorable man. He would never break a promise, especially to his father. And so there I was. Here I am. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm sick. I understand why, and I agree, but, you know, it's still really, really hard. So, anyway, it was a very hard time. Towards the end, she was starting to get aggressive with the children, little tiny grandchildren, which she loved beyond words. And she was, we had to bolt the door shut to her room, so because she had access to go out like a separate access to go out, and we couldn't do that. We had to bolt the door and just like, okay, we are locking your mother in the house. We can't do this anymore. I was getting sicker, and finances were really tight, but we had to do it. We found a home that was locked down because it had to be locked down. That was really nice. I mean, I would live there in a heartbeat. They had all the things that you can imagine. It wasn't like a regular convalescent. They were apartments. And she had her own place, her own little kitchen area without a stove. A place to eat her meals, a nurse to check on her, just someone to come in and help her bathe, just all the things I had been doing that we couldn't deal with anymore. So anyway, we ended up paying astronomical fee because she couldn't afford it. That's another thing, and we didn't know that she had Alzheimer's at the time. She had taken her retirement, cashed it out, got a huge penalty, took all the money and gambled it away, which was, she gambled, but she never, ever, ever, ever would be, she was always financially very good with money. That wasn't her, but she took her money, she gambled it away, she had no money for a home, she had no money for nothing. So we just thought, you know what, we can't keep her at home, so we're gonna take care of her by putting her in a very nice place. So then I had to go back to work because we couldn't afford this very nice place without me working full time. I was working part-time, and then I was working almost nothing because we couldn't leave Grandma home alone. So I went back to work full-time, all during treatments. I was doing a trial, I think, during part of that time, off and on, because it was 9 years. So, my journey continued parallel with hers. And we got her in the home. And the day that we packed and put her, took her, we laugh about it now, but it wasn't really funny. She followed my husband around, screaming in his ear, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you." It was horrible at the time, but now anytime we hear "I hate you," we laugh because we're like, or if I joke with him, I'm like, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you," and we just, you have to laugh about certain things because it's just, if not, then you would just fall apart or we'd kill her, one of those two. So we weren't laughing at the time, but now, of course, we can laugh about some little things that she did that were not really funny, but funny. I don't know how to explain it. You'd have to be there. Let's just say that. So anyway, we put her in this place and she kept trying to escape. She wouldn't let them bathe her. We were getting really worried that they were going to kick her out. We're like, no, they can't kick her out. This is horrible. They're made for these places. They know what they're doing. But she was like the worst of the worst. The nurse told me she had never experienced anybody so aggressive with this disease, and she'd seen a lot. So if that tells you anything, it was pretty bad. So we put her in a home, and 3 months later she passed. And she went really quickly, so she didn't have to suffer. It was just a blessing. For her mind, she was a slave in her own body. She was suffering, and she didn't want to live that way. And she was 89 when she passed, so it wasn't like, she'd missed out on too many years of life. So anyway, that is my story of taking care of Grandma for 9 years. It was a horrible time in our lives, but yet I'm so glad that we did it. I look at my husband and I love him. Oh, now I'll cry. I love him more now than I ever did before. I see him taking care of his mother, taking care of me, and a lot of men wouldn't do that, especially with a mother that didn't take care of them. So I got a good one. I love him and I respect what he did. And I know that if he does that for his mom, he'll definitely do it for me. So when I get old and demented, if I get old, I'll probably get demented first. I know I'll be taken care of. So that's enough about me. So I think I'm going to close it out, but it's been nice talking to you guys. It's like therapy. All right. Yeah, it was a hard time. It really was. So on Tuesdays, it's going to be Get to Know Me Better. That's going to be the topics. And today we started it out. And I'd like it if you guys could just drop a thumbs up if you got to the end of this. And that's great. And if you'd like to join our family, I normally don't just sit here and talk from a chair. I do vlogs I do a whole week. I vlog my whole week and it comes out on Friday. And I show you my entire cancer journey. And then on Tuesdays, it's a sit down and as I just told you, we're doing Get to Know Me. So, all right. I think that's it for today. You guys, I love you all. And yeah, I'll see you on Friday. I don't know what else to say. So hit a thumbs up, the thumbs up button if you like this content. And yep, this is Too Cute for Cancer signing off.